Working with consultants may be unfamiliar to many project managers and to many project team members. But if you get it right, a good consultant can bring huge value to your project. So, how do you work with consultants? I was a project and program management consultant for 12 years, and for the 20 years since, I've consulted less formally. That means I have over 30 years of consulting experience, and that's what I'm going to share with you. I'll divide my comments into 4 sections, and the first section is all about what to do before you even engage your consultant. First things first, before you even think about which consultant, take time internally to define exactly what you want your consultants to do. Create a thorough, precise and carefully worded brief that you can offer to your consultants. This will allow them to respond properly, to make appropriate promises and commitments, make useful suggestions for how things will work, and to price out their involvement accurately. Then always evaluate the proposals you get from consultants against that brief. Treat any off-brief elements separately. Consultant may have spotted something you've missed, and that's entirely legitimate. But you first have to understand how each proposal performs against your core requirement. And any non-core requirement suggestions, you need to assess them carefully. Has the consultant spotted something that you genuinely need? Or is this just a nice to have that's exciting the team but actually won't deliver the level of value that the investment requires? Finally, if the consultant is going to be working on your site, then attitudes, values and culture matter. You need to meet the consultants, as many of them as you can if it's going to be a team, and evaluate the fit with your culture. It is no good bringing in consultants who are going to clash continually with your colleagues and your team members. Next, there are things to do at the start of the consulting engagement. You'll be paying your consultants for the work that they do that matches your brief. So how accurate is your brief? You are entitled to take their proposal as a statement of intent against which you can measure them. But if your needs have changed or are likely to change after the issuing of a proposal, then make sure you document them and issue a formal brief to your consultants before they start. And you also need to brief your consultant or your consulting team on a range of issues, either before they start with you or as a kick-off to the project. They need to be able to be working effectively as quickly as possible. And from your formal instructions to the consultant and from your briefing, construct what I would call an evidence procedure, a way of evaluating the work the consultants have done. What are the measures that you will evaluate them against in deciding when they have completed their brief and it's time to pay them? And make sure you share the evaluation procedure with your consultants so that they know what they have to do in order to satisfy you and to know that you're going to pay them on time. Next, set up effective reporting procedures, which are likely to include a regular periodic reporting cycle, perhaps reporting at milestones or key events, and certainly some mechanism for reporting ad hoc when exceptions arise and they need to raise something with you. And finally, get your admin right and do it efficiently. You do not want to be wasting your consultant's time, for which you may well be paying, on admin problems that you've created internally. The third set of considerations are for during the consulting engagement. The most important thing is that you work collaboratively with your consultants. You see them as part of your wider team and you build and strengthen relationships with them. It's oh so easy to become competitive and to see them as somehow intruding upon your team. But the reality is, if you're going to see them that way, then there is no point in having them as part of the team. They will work best, and so will you, when you are one team that respects and works well with one another. The next thing to look out for is changes to their brief, which can be costly. Firstly, if you do need to change the brief, make sure that you have consulted properly internally and got sign-off for it, because there will inevitably be some form of a cost. And you need to issue the revised instruction in a formal way. Often, that will be set out in some form of contract or terms and conditions that either you've given to the consultant because they're standard to your organisation, or the consultant has given to you because they have their own set. Often there will be some consideration of what's called a variation order, a process by which you vary the terms of the contract, particularly in the case of different things that need to be done and different payments for them. You need to make sure that you are fully accountable internally for any instructions you give, and that means considering carefully with your colleagues what is the right change to make. The final set of considerations is how to let go of your consultants at the end of the project. It's vital that you do not become dependent upon your consultants, or if they are on a rolling day rate contract, that you don't simply forget to release them, so that you've got someone who isn't doing valuable work, but for whom you are still paying. When they're done, let them go. Don't let them become a crutch, which means you're not delegating the best work to your team, who are then getting resentful about extra people earning higher rates of pay than they are doing the more interesting work. And certainly don't allow your consultants to find creative ways to overstay their welcome. But before they leave, you must debrief them. Their brains are full of useful and important information. Sometimes they have learned stuff that your team members will not have learned, and yet you need to know this. So make time as part of the close of the engagement to sit down with your consultants and find out all that they have learned. And sometimes they will have some really valuable insights for you that will enable you to improve the way you do your project, or possibly target different and better outcomes. And once again, get the exit admin right as well. Make sure you remove any passes or access keys from your consultants, and maybe even consider changing the codes on coded door locks. And of course, if your consultants had their own internal email accounts on your system, it's time to archive and then delete those accounts. For all of that advice, though, there is one thing that is more important than anything else, and that is to be a well-informed client. Ask questions. Make sure you understand everything, particularly before you evaluate recommendations. Some consultants will naively think that a dumb client is an easy client to work with. That's not true. For us as consultants, we like well-informed clients. But for you as a client, not being well-informed means that you risk wasting money and using your consultant poorly. Please do give a thumbs up if you learned from this video. I'll be making loads more great project management content for you, so please do subscribe to the channel and hit the bell so you don't miss any of it. And I'll look forward to seeing you in the next one.